The initial outlay of money is number one. If you think about it, a small manual mill $5,000 and a bigger mill $15,000 is a lot of money today, considering that the median income in America for the last year was $56,500. That's the household income. So if you compare the price of, say, the LT15 Start, which is around $6,000, to an annual household income, it's a good chunk of change. With a $6,000 loan and 6% interest at 3 years, you're looking at around $186 a month. With a monthly net income of $3,050, you will want to sit down and look closely at the monthly budget. So, you want to look at all your bills and stuff and get your calculator out and check things out. Number two is you should have a good solid base to set the sawmill on. Now, you don't have to go as far as I've gone, but I don't like doing anything twice. I hate redoing stuff. So what I've got here is a 6-inch concrete slab resting on stone, wood cribbing. You could easily set this sawmill down on the ground and use the legs and set them on flat rocks. You could set them on good compacted dirt, whatever. But the main point is that the sawmill needs to be flat, it needs to be level, and it needs to stay that way. Because if it's not level and it's not flat, all you end up with is a bunch of headaches. Because the wood's not going to want to cut straight. The logs are not going to lay flat, and the mill's not going to ride on a horizontal plane on the rails. So there's a lot of ways to do it. I could have cement blocks underneath there, solid blocks, all kind of stuff. You could dig piers and pour cement, but the thing is, it depends on where you live. In Pennsylvania, we have a tremendous amount of frost here during the winter time. That changes. It's frost right now. I'm in the middle. The first day of March, and it still was freezing last night. So you want to make sure you have all that you need for the sawmill. And the thing is you could temporarily set up the Woodmizer and then use it to cut the cribbing if you need to, and that would be a cost savings. Although the time to reset the mill would be doubled, but depending on how much cutting you intend to do, it might be worth it. Regardless of that, the Woodmizer needs a good foundation to sit on. That's my whole point here. So that's number two. You should have a good solid base to set the sawmill on. Even the mills that are mobile, you need to make sure you're checking those jacks to make sure that they're, as you're cutting, that they are making good contact with the ground and carrying their load. Number three, the drudgery of moving heavy logs gets old fast. The Woodmizer can be set low to the ground to help offset the burden of getting logs on the bunk, but I personally found that for me, 18 inches from the ground to the bunk is perfect working height. The fact remains that logs weigh a ton, and that's not an exaggeration. The lightest wood I cut is white pine, 36 pounds for a square foot. A 27-inch log of white pine, 16 foot long, weighs in at 2,050 pounds. Whereas red oak in the same size, 27-inch by 16 foot, weighs 4,000 pounds. That's 2 tons. You must prepare for this weight for moving logs to the mill, loading the mill, and unloading the mill, which would eventually is done by hand, unloading it. So logs roll, but not easily, and usually when you don't want them to. Even if you have all the bells and whistles on your mill, heavy lumber has to be moved by hand sooner or later. Come on, Bullseye. Pull, pull. Come on. You can pull that thing. I'm tired of feeding you and you ain't doing no work. Let's go. Pull that log down there. Come on. Come on. That's the junk from one log. Just one. The sawdust is another thing. Now it just so happens that I'm okay here. I can keep raking this sawdust out here. I don't want to go a whole lot further than where I am. But if you look sort of closely, you can see that there's about a 2-foot drop there. So just in cutting for about 8 months, I've got enough sawdust here to fill in an area 2 foot thick by, let's see, that's about 20 by 15 feet filled with sawdust. Sawdust actually compacts pretty well, I gotta tell you. I don't know how long it's gonna last though. I wish it was like sand. It looks like sand, sort of acts like sand, but you do have a lot of sawdust that you gotta know what to do with. So anyway, that's number 4, the tremendous amount of waste material that is not lumber, right? So the first cut on the sawmill will give you a flitch. That's what you're looking at there. Okay, the ones with the bark on. So each log, in essence, gives you 4 flitches. The Woodmizer is designed to cut 320 board feet an hour. So if you figure a 16-inch diameter log, 12 foot long, is about 100 board feet. That means you'll be able to cut 3 logs per hour. After 8 hours of cutting, you will have a minimum of 96 flitches. There's 4 there. You'll have 96 flitches. Where are you going to put them? And what are you going to do with them? I know all the things you can do with them. I'm just telling you to be prepared for the waste. You have to be able to handle it and get it out of your way. And again, you have the sawdust, just like I'm showing here. Cutting, like I said above, will give you approximately 12 cubic feet of sawdust. So in other words, you cut for 1 day and you're going to have 12 cubic feet of sawdust. If you're not prepared to handle the sawdust right at the start, it'll bury you in short order. So you need a place to store the waste until you decide where or what you're going to be using it for. There's a whole lot of ideas out there. A lot of guys take sawdust, bag it, and sell it to people who have horses. I'm sure we could use it for a little bit of a chicken run. I'm just saying, I put sawdust around my blueberry bushes, especially the oak sawdust. I'm just saying, you're going to have a pile of stuff to contend with. For the first, I guess it was week that I got the sawmill, I had a guy come in here twice a day with a pickup truck taking away flitches because I wasn't sure what to do with them until I realized I was giving away my own firewood. Number 5, it's a space that you need to stack lumber. I need more space. I need more space. I really gotta have more space. Well, that's the space for the kindling. I got space for firewood. I need to get another garage. I'm running out of space. I need more space. The other thing, guys, comes from my wife. And here's what that is. And if you're married or whatever, if you're taking care of the home you live in, number 6 would be increased housework. And this is from my wife. She says you'll need extra laundry detergent and vacuum bags for all the dust, sap, and dirt. And some red oak stains, she said, are murder to get out. So what we do is we have that mud room right there, and she's constantly vacuuming that thing. And also rubbing alcohol will get the pine sap out with a little hand scrubbing. Number 7 on the list is limiting how much free work you're going to do for the neighbors. Almost everyone I know loves the smell of wood, right? And to see the magic of getting nice straight boards out of raggedy looking trees. Next thing you know, you start hearing, I need this and I need that, is what you'll be hearing from your neighbors and friends. But you won't hear much jingling of money. For some reason, cutting lumber to the neighbors costs nothing because the trees are free. Here's where you stop watching this video and go back and watch my spreadsheet videos. The worst thing about cutting for neighbors and cutting for free is that they aren't prepared to stack or sticker the wood, so most of it is ruined. They take it, put it on a pile somewhere, and forget about it. And then somehow it's your fault that the boards aren't straight. Of course, you will need to cut them stickers, 4x4s, to get the wood off the ground. And by the way, can I borrow some plastic to cover the wood? Stop it now before you cannot afford to get yourself blades. I ought to put this chain across my driveway. Number 8. You need to be mechanically inclined. Okay? You need to be mechanically inclined. Unless you're well off money-wise, you're going to have to know how to do things and how to fix them. You will need to learn some rigging as well. When a tree falls down, it stays where it falls. It is mankind who has to move it and mill it. And it takes know-how and money to do it. It's a good learning experience in my humble opinion. It's not rocket science, which would be easy compared to logging and milling. So guys, the number 9 is blade maintenance. If you never sharpened a saw blade or a knife to a razor edge, be prepared to pay someone to sharpen your manual or your band mill blades for you. I would say that every new sawyer is going to go through at least 10 blades that are going to get ruined to the point that you can't resharpen them before he actually learns, how to cut. So when you buy your mill, buy all the blades you can, and the money you were going to use to eat out on your trip to Woodmizer, use that money to buy blades. You'll be glad you did. I think this blade needs a resharpening. And guys, number 10, which is the last thing. A good system of operation that you develop, not someone else. There are countless ways to do things. Find out how things can get done and then embrace what works for you. Whether you use a crane, a winch, a loader, a backhoe, forks to get the log on the bunk doesn't matter. Just get it up on the bunk the quickest, safest, best way you can come up with. Finally, when you're completely done preparing for all the drawbacks, get prepared for an addiction that is rewarding and challenging. Oh, and have a good night's sleep from honest work.